Hey guys, this is the Blue Collar Feature Podcast. I'm your host, Jaden Robinson, with our host, Jesse, today.
What's up, guys? How are you, dude?
I'm good. It is gloomy outside, though.
Bro, did you guys get dumped on yesterday? Like, later in the day?
We got a lot of rain, yeah, throughout the whole day.
Big, gigantic raindrops started maybe like 3 o'clock yesterday up here.
Yeah.
Fucking wild.
Yeah. Did you work on your thin brick job that day? Yesterday?
Yes. Yes. And that's what, it was funny because I had, I had got to a point where I was kind of good. And then I was like, Mike, maybe I'll go pull some more stock out of the truck because the pallet of brick was in the truck. I was like, unless it's raining. He's like, oh, it's not raining. He goes, I just made a cut. It's not raining. And I could hear, like, because the door was cracked open. And I was like, it sure sounds like it's raining, my boy. But, like, he had literally been outside 30 seconds earlier than that conversation. And then all of a sudden, just boom.
Came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And
Which is,
yeah.
yeah.
And you just got back from working on that, too. How's that going? Are you almost done?
Yeah. I got all the stairs done and up a pretty good way, like probably 5 feet over the stairs. So I think it's only a couple hundred more brick to do, but then I gotta go do all the joints and squeeze bagging it and stuff. So I think I might just invite some of the guys from work to be like, hey, you guys want to knock this out real quick so I don't have to do all of it?
Go up there and do that after work one day or what?
Yeah. Or maybe Saturday or something.
When you do stone jobs, like veneer jobs, you like to grout the joints as you go. That's probably just doesn't work very good here, right? Because of the way you're doing it.
Yeah, and I could do either way with stone, but I have such a habit of like when I lay brick or block, like I'm filling the joint. So, like if I'm laying a full joint, so I can just throw mortar in there and then compact it and fill in the gaps, if you will. But this one we're doing with the thin set, and so I'm gonna.
Yeah.
There's no real mortar in there at the moment,
Yeah.
so I've got to go fill everything.
Yeah. That thin set stuff's crazy.
Yeah, bro, it's wild how like, I mean, I probably lay like 3 courses and then pull all my stuff like my rope out and all that stuff, and like I can move it, but like it ain't going.
You probably couldn't even take it off if you wanted after that. So
Yeah,
I was
that's
surprised.
yeah. When I was Mikey put in a cut like against the light box that was a little too big for my liking. I was sitting there trying to pry it off the wall. He put it in yesterday. And I saw it this morning, and I was like, oh, that's not on bond. And so I was trying to yank it off the wall. I was like, Jesus, like, yeah, it's cool. I've been surprised. Like I said, it's all kind of trial and error for me. I've never done it this way.
Well, you kind of helped me go with my backsplash stuff because, like, if you start going online, all the masons out there have so many different opinions and stuff about how things need to be done. Like, everybody's like, "Oh yeah, you do your veneer stone. You have to rip out your drywall and put cement board in, and some people were even like, you got to put lath over that and scratch coat it." And I'm like, what in the hell? I thought the cement board was supposed to make it so you don't have to do that. Like, people are just insane with their suggestions. And yeah, so I ended up just putting thin set over and stapling lath to the studs and stuff. And that stuff stuck. It's like crazy sticky. So anyways, it was pretty nuts.
I blocked a dude the other day because he's followed me for a minute, but every video I post of like updates or like pretty much ever since I posted me messing around with the evolved stone stuff, he's been like up my butt about all little things. And I was like, hey dude, what would be cool is if with all your knowledge you just made content yourself.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't come off, and I was like, okay, I'm done, bye.
Yeah, dude, it's ridiculous. People they get a kick out of it. You can't get too annoyed. Ignore it or block them. It is what it is.
Yeah, and that's like, I tried to explain. I was like, do you not like? First of all, it's my name on it, bro. Like, if it fails, it's on me, not on you. And second of all, like, do you not think that I went through the avenues that I needed to go through to make sure that I was okay to do this? Like,
yeah. No, you don't, because you're doing something he thinks isn't right. So you're just a hack now, pretty much. It's pretty much how it is. There couldn't be any sort of other circumstance he's not aware of or nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody knows
But
better.
what's up, dude?
Dude,
What's up, dude? What do we talk about today?
we are talking about how to manage your life. So,
I'm very good at this.
yeah. So, I did a video about journaling last week, and because I've always felt as though I need to be doing something better to keep track of everything I'm doing, because you can never be too, I think, on top of your things.
Mm-hmm.
And the more responsibility I get at work and the more I have to do outside of work, being the podcast and trying to do content on social media and then having family stuff and having the baby and whatnot, it's like there's
Mm.
way too much going on. So I started journaling, and it's not really journaling. I would say it's more like just a way to keep all of the random things that I'm thinking about in one place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that got me thinking, like, because it's pretty simple. It doesn't take very much time out of my day in the morning. Like, 10 minutes maybe, not even. And throughout the day, I just jot down stuff in there. And it's mainly, I would say, like work oriented or just task oriented.
Mm.
Just a way to keep me on top of stuff, because like it just, like we had talked about before we start recording, it's like if you're not making a point to do something, like putting it on paper, having a schedule, having a plan, it just doesn't happen. So, yeah, that's what I figured we'd talk about. How do you manage life in a blue collar job? With, we can talk to both our circumstances about, all the social media stuff, and you've obviously got a lot of brand deals and family stuff going on and all that.
Heck yeah. With your journal, so I remember you have like three parts of your journal. What do you do there? Are you like, here's what I have to do? Is it kind of like the power list, or is it like how
Yeah.
do you have?
Yeah. So each page is a day, obviously, but I start the day with journaling about the previous day, because I got all of this from a close friend of our family, when we were, I think, up snowmobiling in Island Park, because he every Sunday he plans out his week, like writes everything down. And
Mm-hmm.
this guy's got a lot of stuff going on, but his system's super simple. So he starts off the day by journaling about the previous day, because he wants to think about the wins and the positives and good things that happened. And that way, all of just the crap, things that you might have gotten upset about and things that you've clashed on with and things you're not necessarily, I think, proud of, or maybe you're holding on to, kind of gets passed through
Mm-hmm.
a filter. So you're not like just getting, you know, writing all that crap down and holding on to it, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a good way to separate yourself from the day, essentially, and journal about the wins and the positives. So start out the day by journaling about the previous, but each page is organized by goals at the top, work, notes, stuff like that in the middle, and then the journal at the bottom. So essentially, yeah, I just start out by journaling about that previous day at the bottom of the page, and then the next day, on the current day, I write down goals, which is just like things I got to get done for work, tasks I need to do, all that type of stuff. And then just leave space for random notes throughout the day, things that happen at work, all that. So,
Dig it.
yeah,
I like that.
it's pretty simple. It's like not a journaling process that you would think about normally. And obviously it starts out like you're doing on the previous day instead of and in the morning, because I would have a hard time bringing myself to do that in the evening.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when a lot of people do it. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And then like it makes a way that you can compare, and like if you're on or off track, like if you're off track, you go back and be like, okay, so like here's where I could get my 1% better, you know, or like to see like here's where I am getting 1% better, or like whatever it is per day,
Yep.
and like you said, see your wins, and then try to optimize what you got going on.
Yep.
I like that. I like that. That's cool.
Yeah, it's simple. It's simple, and I've wanted to do something for a long time,
Mm.
but I just haven't known what. And I am writing stuff down all the time, but it's all over the place. I have sticky notes and notepads and notes in my phone and calendar events and stuff, and it's just a way for me to keep it in one spot and to
Yeah.
have it with me. Yeah,
Did
and
you
then yeah.
do you ever vision board?
I have that's kind of more of a mental thing for me. It's one thing I want to do, because it's a simple thing to just have somewhere and write down where you want to be and
Mm-hmm.
just have it in sight and stuff. But I
Yeah.
don't. at the moment. It's just kind of
I was yeah. My brain was
like,
like those two would go like together well,
yeah,
you know.
yeah, yeah. So I probably need to do that. I'm guessing you have one, or
Yeah, I've done it a couple times. You know, like the year that I got sober, I just in my the beginning of my journal at the time, like I wrote 5 words. Now I can't remember them off the top of my head, but
yeah,
like I wrote them and like they were in the very front page of my notepad, if you will.
hmm,
So like so I didn't look at them every day, but I saw them every day, if that makes sense.
yeah,
And I remember like 2 years later, I looked at it and they were all done. And I was like, oh, that's like, and it wasn't like I was actively working on them every day. It was just like, oh, I did all those things, you know, like there was like sobriety, getting married, I think was on there, making over 100K in a year. And like one of the arbitrary ones was I wanted to catch a tarpon on a fly rod. And like I did those, like all of those things within that calendar year. And I was like, oh, that's cool, you know, just because whatever, like if you believe in manifestation and
yeah,
that sort of stuff, like it all came true because it's something that, like I subconsciously made myself see every day
yeah. Well,
or consciously.
I think a lot of guys think they're too freaking hard to do that. They're badasses or hard asses, and they don't need to like write stuff down and have goals and visions and stuff.
Care what the stars are doing.
But it's not like exactly. But it's not like that per se. It's like if you're not thinking about it or even like writing it down and having it subconscious, this stuff doesn't happen. You might get
Mhm.
lucky and you might just through hard work and pushing yourself like get somewhere. But if you're not actively striving towards something, it's very likely it's not going to happen. So writing it down, reinforcing it in your mind, and just every day revisiting where you want to be is very important. So it's easy to see how people are just flying by the seat of their pants and don't have any sort of. I mean, if you ask someone where they want to be and they're like, "Oh, I don't know. I'm just working." I
Yeah,
mean, I don't know. It's kind of a reflection of where we are as a country, but a lot of people
yeah.
just day to day. But
What's the is the saying, like a goal without a plan is just like a wish or whatever, right?
yeah,
Or like whatever it is. It's
yeah,
it's I that's not the exact phrasing, but it's just right. Like if you
yeah,
like this would be nice. Yeah, it would be nice to have a nicer house. Like and then you carry out like, oh, okay, well, how about you write it down? And
yeah,
I've said probably 100 times on this podcast already. Reverse engineer how you want to get to
yeah,
your goal.
yeah. Exactly. If you don't, in my mind, if you're not writing them down or taking note of them in some way, it just they're not going to happen.
Hmm.
And yeah, my problem has always been I don't have it organized at all.
Yeah,
So this is how I'm at this point, kind of keeping track of everything I've got going on. So it's like, yeah, I don't know. So and we can talk about it a little bit more, but let's talk about kind of how you're managing everything you've got going between like you've got a lot of responsibility at work, and you're obviously got quite a bit of responsibilities through your brand deals and stuff and actual commitments instead of like most people with their social media don't really have any real commitments to things.
yeah,
So you have actual deadlines to meet with content and a lot of stuff to do at work.
yeah. I mean, to be transparent, like work right now fills the majority of the bucket, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like, because we're just trying to get this job site ready, and I'm trying to be a good leader and all that stuff. So like, I will admit, I get going, balls to the wall, like into this, and like a lot of things fall to the wayside because of that. Because I'm so involved in
Mm-hmm.
this in front of me, and the like saying like it's hard to see the forest for the trees. Like I kind of get stuck in that, right? Like I'm
Yeah.
I'm stuck I'm looking at the trees. Yeah, I think I try to be self-aware enough to like, or maybe be present enough that like if I can catch myself doing that, I want to sit back and like, so like the content thing. I've got a massive responsibility with work and getting this job back on schedule and the 20 guys that I'm in charge of. But I also have made agreements to like I have to make certain content to make this money because it doubles my income. And I'll forget about it, or like not so much forget about it, but it's on the back burner because I'm so involved in this in front of me, like I said. And so I try to be. remind myself to be present, and maybe I should be better about like setting a reminder on my phone for like Saturday or Sunday or something, and
Hmm.
be like, hey, you know check back in on yourself. Because what I've noticed is, if, like I told you and what you just mentioned, is if I don't schedule it, I'll just keep going balls to the wall in that direction, right?
Hmm.
So like, and it could be anything. It can be like, I force myself to schedule out content days at this point, because otherwise I'm just going to work, and I'll get to my deadline, and my agent will be like, hey bro, you want to turn that in? I'm like, oh shit, yeah. Let me go run and do this just like I did in college at the last minute.
Yeah.
So I have to set aside a day during the week, or like 4 hours during the week, to just like, hey, we're gonna grind content for these 4 hours, no distractions in that group. The same thing goes for my side job. Some days I want to get home and just relax, but it's like, in order to get it done, I have to be like, this is the days that you have to do it. If you want it done by this date, you have to do this much.
Hmm.
And then even if we go to days that aren't productive days, that are, but they're still whatever. Like, I personally I will schedule days of rest, like, because I'll work 7 days a week, and whatever it is, especially if my wife's working, and like,
Hmm.
whatever. But like, I have to be aware and present enough that I know that I need those days and I need to recharge. So like, I will schedule those days, and like I said, that's a day of like, hey, there's no like,
Hmm.
don't talk to me about work, don't talk to me about any of that stuff. I'm hanging out with my family, or doing something outside, or just whatever, and sort
Yeah.
of stuff. So I try to use that as like scheduling to manage my stuff, because like I said, this my bucket is mostly full with this current work situation,
Yeah.
and then I need to, in order to make these other things happen, I kind of need to like force myself to do it. So it's like, I have to schedule it, like, okay, this is it. I have to hold myself to that.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that.
Yeah. Even like
Something.
you said, the podcast, bro. Like I
Yeah.
said, I was like, if it wasn't every 2 weeks, I would be terrible at it, because I'm like, oh no, I'm working, bro. Like, even today, I was like, sorry, Jade, I'm headed home. My bad.
Yeah. No, I get it, dude. I have been the same way, and anybody who's been following along the podcast the last year would have seen that when I was building the house, because like that was a whole full-time job on top of my job that I had,
Mm,
like having to be here every evening, either working on stuff or scheduling things out, and being on the phone constantly with contractors and in communication with contractors to make sure stuff was getting done on time, and
mm-hmm.
planning everything out. Like, it was just it was a hard thing. So I would get home, Sunday night at 8 o'clock. I would record the podcast and do some light editing and hurry and post it. So I get how it can be a pain. One thing I wanted to touch on there that you were saying, like being present. So scheduling out your time allows you to do that.
Mm,
Like, if you're not, like we said, if it's not on paper, like written down somehow, whether it's on your calendar, reminders, or whatever, you'll go through each moment thinking about everything that needs to be done, right? So you'll be at work trying to think about what you need to do with your content, because it's just like in your mind and you don't know when you're going to do it. It's not a scheduled time. But if you're saying, okay, I'm at work and I need to focus on this from 9 to 5, we'll just say,
mm-hmm.
and you get home and you're like, okay, from 7 to 8, I'm going to work on only content. It makes it really easy to not even think about it at all
Mm-hmm.
during the day until you get to that point, and then it's like, okay, now I'm going to focus on this. And I think some people might be able to do that mentally, but most people think they can, but they actually can't. So all that ends up happening is they're just like everywhere but where they're at. And I say this because this is me. Like, if I'm not if I'm not like scheduling out time to do things, it just doesn't, like, my mind is all over the place. I'm at work sitting here thinking about what I need to do content wise with the podcast, or at home projects on my house. And so this whole thing that I started doing was one more way for me to keep on top of that and to be able to be present, more present.
Yeah.
Because yeah, if it's not scheduled in, your mind is just gonna wander all over the place and not be where you're at the moment.
Yeah. On the idea of being present and like mindful of that, that's another thing, I guess. Because, like I said, my bucket's so full of work, I have to be aware to like shut that off sometimes. And so, like, when I walk my dog or things like that, like I don't take my phone with me. Or me and Christina, we have our date night every week, and it's like I don't, my phone's not present. Or like, so like I am the only thing in that situation is me and her, or me and the dog, in either way. But like if we do stuff like that, I try to not have that with me because then like one work can't creep into it because someone can't hit me up about something, or like I can't distract myself by scrolling social media, or I can't distract myself by doing anything else. And I'm just fully present in that moment with Christina and them. And I think that's maybe another thing of like being conscious enough to like make things easier for you to be present and to get down that path, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, another thing to consider here is like not everybody's going to have the same process. So, and everybody's life is changing
Hmm.
and evolving. So, circumstances might change for me to where maybe it doesn't feel all that necessary to do what I'm doing. So I may take a step back, but I know that as I get busier, things are just going to fall through the cracks and it's going to be way too hard to keep on top of everything. And I know it because I've been on this cycle of like getting super busy at work and just like being so entrenched in work stuff that anything else just falls to the side. And I get home and like don't do anything. I don't work out, like don't make time for myself. And then it's just ends up being the scrolling your phone and just like doing random things. And then all of a sudden it's bedtime, you know?
Yep. Yeah.
I've been in this situation a bunch of times. So for me, it's kind of about always reevaluating what's happening. And this is probably where vision board comes in and writing down your goals every day. Um,
Hmm.
or just having that in mind. Because, like, if you're not always chasing the version of you that you want to be, it's very easy for the natural man, we'll say, to step in and just like do nothing essentially.
Hmm.
Our mind's trying to conserve energy, our body's trying to conserve energy. You'll just end up wasting all your time, and then all of a sudden you'll be like, oh crap, I didn't do this and this and this that I was supposed to. And yeah,
Yeah.
it happens.
Or even, yeah. Like it's simple. Like you said, the gym. Like I had a good gym habit for a while, and then it's like work took over. And I'm like, oh, I didn't make it easy for myself to go to the gym every day. So
Yeah.
it's like that fell to the wayside because you know, I was stuck in this. But what I needed to do was schedule it out and be like, okay, bro, like if you don't want to be at the gym after work because you want to be with your wife, but you still want to be healthy and in this habit, you need to go to bed a little earlier and wake up and do it in the morning when that's not in the way. Or like things as simple as wants. Like I enjoy playing golf and I enjoy fly fishing, and I can't like did it a handful of times in the last 2 years because I'm just so busy with everything else.
Yeah.
Like,
One thing I was going to mention is if you were going to be scheduling much time for fly fishing this year,
yeah,
you were
I need to.
making, yeah, you're making it sound like you wanted to start grinding to get to a different place.
Yeah, and that's I think like I said, I get just going hard in one direction and forget about it. But I do like I need to be better about scheduling those days, those me days, if you will, because like the being in the water and the whole experience out there is almost a form of meditation. Like I can't have my phone on me. I can't do any of this stuff. It's just me and like the river running. So that's days that I need, and I need those reset days, and I need to be outside and just like be present in this.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's I need to be better about scheduling those things, and then like golf's the same way. Like I like playing golf, and it allows me to see friends and spend some time with a couple people. But like I get going and I'm like, oh, I'm working on this, so I'm not doing that. And I'm like, oh, I'm doing this. And,
Hmm.
I need to be better about like maybe go spend the money on like a pass. So it's like, hey, you have to use this.
So the person I actually took inspiration from on my journaling does sort of similar because he's busy and one of the people I look up to quite a bit, and he will go ahead and schedule a bunch of like trips that they want to take every year, like almost a year in advance, because he knows that when it comes down to it, it's more than likely that he'll just find some excuse as to why he doesn't want to go or can't
Hmm.
go. So, for example, they go up to Island Park and rent houses a few times a year. And say he just rents out like a few weekends, the same weekends at a couple different houses.
Hmm.
So, essentially planning for it a year in advance, being like, no, this needs to happen. It doesn't really matter what's going on at work and in life at that point. If there's an emergency, obviously I can't go, but I need to schedule this time because it is necessary to take a break like that and to have those things that you enjoy and do,
Hmm.
like force yourself essentially to do it. So
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
guys
I
do
like
that
that.
with concerts, buy
Yeah.
all sorts of concert tickets, and usually go to them. Although I do see you selling concert tickets all the time, so I don't know.
Yeah. And I tried that last year. I was just like, I want to go see all these guys. And then it would get to it. And I'd be like, it's a Thursday night and I have to be at work. No, like, why am I doing this?
But like with a just a concert ticket, maybe it's not, maybe it's not as big of a barrier to entry, so you're not worried about losing that cost. But if you're like planning a vacation and you're like, you know what, I'm just gonna pay for it and it's gonna be done and
Mm.
scheduled in, you're essentially forcing yourself to go because because when you think about it, like there's almost always every single time you go out of town some sort of thing that comes up, some
Hmm.
reason as to why you can't go, unless you're somebody that just doesn't even want to be at work ever, and so you're just like looking for excuses to leave. But most people, it's like you get down to scheduling things, and if you're close enough to the time that you want to go and you haven't done it yet, it's like, oh, you know what, I'm too busy, I don't think I can go, I don't think I can make it, and then it just doesn't
Hmm.
end up happening. So I see that happen to a lot of people, never take time off, and that's usually how it goes.
Yeah. Yeah. You get too busy making a living to make a life.
Yeah, exactly. And that's another thing, like this being present. And I was going to touch on your being out fly fishing because it's important to have thinking
Yes.
time to yourself. So whether that's when you're walking your dog or whether it's, on your drive to work, fly fishing, whatever, you need to have that time to
Hmm.
think through those things because we're always so inundated with information all the time. It's again hard to see the forest from the trees.
Hmm.
And like it's time for you to take yourself kind of out of it and be like just let thoughts run through your head without really doing much.
Yeah. Yeah, that's like I was saying, as the podcast I've been listening to while on the side job have been on the subject of like mindfulness and uh, that sort of thing, and like meditation, which I've always been curious about and whatnot. And so it's um, maybe that introspection, and I need to schedule out some time to think about those sort of things because like work, becomes all consuming to a point, and I need to be better about the things, taking care of the things outside of that.
Yeah, it is important. And the stinking phones, dude, they have a way of somehow interrupting everything. So like you go out in public and see people out to dinner with their family and everybody's doing this the whole time. It's
Hmm.
like,
Yeah.
come on, man. Like you gotta like if you can even make a 1% effort every day to just try to be present in what you're doing instead of on your phone trying to be somewhere else,
Hmm.
like life would be so much better. I think there's a reason why we're seeing depression go through the roof nowadays. Like everybody's trying to be somewhere they're not focused on where they are, not figuring out how to be content and think to themselves and have silence. Like they just always have to have something going on and they're in front of them in order
Hmm.
to just function. I don't know. It's interesting to watch for sure.
Hmm.
And that doesn't help you stay on top of anything either because all you end up doing is getting just like you're not even present on where you are, so how do you expect to be able to be on top of things that you need to get done or things that you want to get done to begin with?
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's interesting. And like if you never schedule that personal time, there's the like the metaphor of there's the competition to cut down the tree, and the two guys just start whacking away at the tree, and the one guy spends the whole time sharpening his axe.
Yeah.
And then he knocks down the tree really quick because he has a sharpened axe. So like if you never schedule that time to like work on
Yeah.
you, then like you're not being as productive as you really could be, because if you
Hmm.
don't, take the time to figure out how you could be better, you're always just going to be this version of you.
Yeah, exactly. And so, like, thinking about that, and since we've been talking about scheduling and goals, you mentioned the gym. So I feel like the gym has two components to it that people aren't very good at, and it's everything we're talking about here: scheduling and goals. So
Hmm.
every time I notice that I have a hard time going to the gym, usually it's because I don't have a goal that I'm working
Hmm.
towards. Whether
Hmm.
that's like, I always have at least something when I'm going, like, oh, I'm going to get to, X amount of pounds on incline dumbbell press, or I have a goal of adding my body weight on for weighted pull ups or something like that. Like something that's like reaching for reaching.
Hmm.
And I just am like single mindedly chasing that. It makes it easy to go. It makes it easy to go
Yeah.
to the gym. But like, if you don't have that and you're just going, it's like obviously we talked about driving your car without a map, and a map to your destination. I mean, where are you gonna go? You're just jumping in, cruising.
Yeah.
But also, if you aren't scheduling that time in, it makes it really easy to come up with excuses to not do it. So, continuing going to the gym kind of comes down to having a goal and scheduling the time and making the time for it. And that goes for all of this type of stuff. Like, though, if you get it on schedule and you have goals for it,
Hmm.
it becomes immensely easier to do because your mind has like a reason
Hmm.
to chase after that. And this is what I felt like has helped me recently with journaling, with doing this. It's like starting the day off with goals and scheduling time in to do things throughout the day. It helps me keep on track and gives me a reason and a purpose to do it. Because otherwise, I'll get to it and I'll start walking towards the garage and I'm like, it's cold out there. I don't think I want to go out and work in the garage, work out in the garage. I'm good. I'd rather just sit
Yeah.
here on the couch with my coffee and get under a blanket and scroll on my phone.
Mm.
Makes it really easy to just like back out and be like, I don't know. I don't think I need to do that today. I don't
Yeah.
have a reason to.
Yeah. And I think, like, a work example of that is, some job sites I don't know. I've been on job sites where I don't know what the deadline is, right? So it's
Yeah.
like, okay, cool, we're here, we're just gonna do as much as we can. But like, in relation to that, there's no way to measure, you know, if there's no end goal or a deadline or a reward at the end of the line, right? There's no way to measure something toward it. So like in that instance where I don't have a deadline at work and I'm like, okay, as long as I have the guys as productive as they can be, whatever. But then it always ends up like, hey,
Not
we
being
got to have this
enough.
done. Yeah, we got to get this done in like 2 weeks. Like, I'm like, well, it would have been cool if you told me we only had 6 weeks to do it.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
because
exactly. Like you can't realistically get something done in a set amount of time unless you know what that amount of time is. Because like it goes down to the plan. Like you may say, okay, let's be as productive as possible, but without like a that timeline, like there's always room for more. Saying we're gonna get as much done as possible just because it doesn't really matter
mhm,
doesn't really help you guys stay on track either, because there's always just that much more that can be done, or maybe you have very limited time and you need to like work a little bit longer every day and do some stuff like that to catch up, and if you don't
yeah,
know that, then how are you supposed to do it?
yeah, and yeah, I think that applies to everything else. Like, if there's no, like you said, if there's no goal in mind, then like you're just running. Like,
Yeah.
it's like the thing, like how they say, like, if a plane took off from LA and it was like a couple degrees off, it was trying to go to New York, but it was a couple degrees off, it's going to end up in like North Carolina,
Yeah.
over the distance. So it's like, if you don't have something at the end, like a measurable unit of like success or like whatever it is, like, and then you can't plan toward it, you're not, like, nothing's going to work out.
Yeah.
And, maybe that's where you're journaling and writing your goals down for the day and then reflecting on it, or scheduling out and like, and then measuring against this is what I scheduled out to, like, this is where I'm scheduled out to be and what I scheduled out to do. How did I do? And then you can reflect on that and like, okay, the next unit of time I need to like do this and try to hit like check those boxes a little bit better, or
Yeah. Well, and that also it does come down to like the constantly evolving, like you just mentioned. Like if you have that goal, you can change your method or change kind of what you're doing, and actually get more stuff done when you know what actually needs to be done. So, and it is literally 1 degree changes everything. I notice every single time we show up on a job, like say we make our morning pour and we go to the next job, the guys are gonna have a different mindset about work if we know we have to go to another one after that, or if they
yeah.
know that this is the only thing we have to do the rest of the day.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Even if it's down to a 1 hour difference in the amount of time it's going to take, that 1 hour difference makes a huge difference. And then if you apply that to a big project like you guys have, that makes a huge difference over a few weeks of time that's left over. So, like going into it, knowing what needs to be has to be done, it helps everybody keep on track. So again, I mean, we're everything literally comes back to like trying to have these goals down.
yes.
Gotta have your goal.
Well, and it's I started laughing when he brought that up about the pour.
Yeah,
It's I'm I'm no different than anyone else on the crew, but like if you tell the crew, hey, as soon as we get this done, you can go home today.
yeah,
I was like, that is a way different day than like, hey, we're gonna be here for 10 hours.
yeah.
It's a way different day, bro.
Exactly, exactly.
And
And
like
they,
I'm the same way.
yeah, they all know how. They all know that they need to either step a little up a little bit more, or maybe they can take it a little bit easier. Like it's just little shifts there here and there that make huge differences in the way that they're thinking about it and the morale and stuff on the crew too. So and then it makes it sucky for the guys on the job to not know what's going on either.
Agreed.
Like in a dynamic scenario, like if you have something that pops up, it might suck for the guys that are like, oh man, I thought this was all we were doing today, and we need to go do something else. And, say it's
Hmm.
a last minute thing that needs to happen, but yeah, if everybody knows what needs to happen, then it's a lot easier to keep people busy and to keep things
Yeah.
on target.
Yeah. You can't have the blind leading the blind, whether it's you're in charge of a crew or you're in charge of yourself, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
'Cause it's yeah, it's and that's and I think if you are the leader, like having like getting all that information and being transparent with all your guys about like, hey, this is where we're at, these are the numbers we gotta hit today, or like being able to break it all down and be like, this is what we gotta do today, this is what we gotta do this week, this is what we gotta do this month. Because like right now we're working 4 10s plus 4 to 8 hours on Fridays, and some of us work Saturdays, and it's like, if we get to the ahead of those numbers that we're trying to get to, like last not this Friday, but the Friday before, I was like, hey guys, did everybody go home? Like, we got done what we needed to get done. Go, like, we've all been
mm,
doing 50 to 55 hour weeks, like, screwed Friday, you know?
yeah,
But yeah, it's if you don't have those measurable units and you haven't planned ahead and done all that stuff and been forthcoming with everyone, it makes it totally different. And that applies to life as well. Like, if you don't, you're like, maybe your 5 year plan, if you don't have your 5 year plan set up, you can't work it back and be like, okay, I need to be doing this every day, or like my 1% better every day. Where does that get me? Sort of stuff.
yeah. I had another thought. Well, actually, I had a question too. Do you guys have do you guys do like when you do 410s, do you also give the option to work Friday, or does everybody still work Friday or and Saturday? Kind of how has that
Mhm.
been going?
So right now, because we're trying to get on schedule, we've been doing 4 10s and then mandatory half day on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
So like most of the guys leave by like 11,
Mm-hmm.
11:30. But then a couple of us will stay all day because like me, I'm like, I'm already here, bro. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to work till 3 and get my 8 hours. And then sometimes come in Saturday mornings. And there's a couple other guys like that as well that are on the crew. Because right now, overtime, like it's open season on it. Whatever you want to get, you can get. And so there's a couple of us that are like, cool, I can use that. Like if I work an extra 15 hours a week, I can make an extra 3 grand a month. So it's
Hmm.
like whatever it is. So yeah, I think another thing with that is outside of that situation, right? So it's like if you let guys know that like, hey, we're working Friday today, like we're doing 410s, but we're working Friday, or like some Fridays we've had to work all day and just to get to like the wall's almost done. But like springing that on them Friday at 9 o'clock in the morning is way different for morale and everything else than it is of
Yeah.
like on Monday or Tuesday being like, hey guys, here's our plan for the week. If we hit it, we're good. But if not, like we gotta get this done this week. Like that's how where the schedule's at.
Mm.
Those are two completely different feelings.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is what it is right now. We're in a hole and we're trying to get out of it. But I'm also not going to kill our guys to fix Jacobson's problems.
Yeah. Yeah. So you had mentioned deadlines, and since we've been talking about that, I have a hard time doing things a lot if there isn't like a deadline, if it's
Hmm.
not pressing. So like I'm a
Right.
huge procrastinator. So this is one reason why I've been doing the journaling. But like if there's not like if something comes up and it's not an immediate thing, usually it would be better for me to just do it. But I'm usually default to like, nah, I can do that later.
Hmm.
And so I have a really hard time doing things that aren't pressing. Having your overarching goal, your big goal, and then having your little goals every day really helps with that and keeps me on track. I know a lot of other people struggle as well with it, but like everybody would have that problem as well. Like if you don't have your pressing things that need to be done every single day and almost make it like it needs to be done, even if you have an extended deadline. Some people might look at your guys' scenario and be like, oh yeah, you guys got time. Even though you sit down and break everything down, it's like, no, actually we need to like be on top of this. It's like it's important to put it into perspective and use the time wisely that you have. So like if everybody isn't on the same page that it needs to be, that like stuff needs to be done, everybody just finds a good way to just kind of avoid doing it. I think that's a common thing.
Oh yeah.
Procrastination is big nowadays.
Yeah. I'm the same way, bro. Like especially
Yeah.
like when I was in school, I don't think I did a paper before 11 o'clock at night in any scenario, bro. It was just like I know I got till then to do it. So like,
And that's what happens, man. Like people wait until the last possible second to do something.
hmm
And I really try to not do that, but without like having it written down as something that needs to be done and almost making myself do it,
hmm
dude, things will be last minute done all the time with me. Like
hmm
I know I need to be better at just doing things as soon as I have time for it.
hmm
That's how That's how I think having a plan and a system for keeping track of everything is like one of the only ways to help you manage your life, really. Because like if you're not putting it on the calendar, you're not setting reminders, writing it down, whatever it is, whatever system that you have, stuff falls through the cracks and it just
hmm
happens. So,
Yeah. Well, it's just like anytime you see someone that you used to like, hey, dude, we should hang out sometime. It's like,
jeez. Yeah.
like, hey, bro, if we don't talk about when you want, like, I try anytime someone brings that up to me that I like actually want to see. I'm like,
Yeah.
cool. Do you want to do dinner Friday?
Yeah,
Like, do you want to
cool.
do
Yeah,
like?
when?
Because if we don't answer this right now, it ain't.
Exactly. No, that happens all the time too. Like that's a good example because that's a
That's a
super common
universal.
thing
Yeah.
for people to be like, "Oh yeah, dude, let's get together sometime. Let's plan sometime." And it's like, now every time I hear that, I'm just like, "Ah, now you either you gave me a task essentially to make sure that this happens, or it's just not gonna." And then the next time we see each other, "Oh yeah, we should just get together sometime." Like it's just a never-ending cycle.
Yeah. It's either like a pleasantry or it's like it's a hey, are you being serious? Because if so, like you're here, I'm here. Let's plan this.
Yeah, let's get it done.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, people find new and interesting ways to make things hard. I think make things hard for themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. Myself included. Yeah. I'm the same way, bro. If I don't do so, it just gets left to the wayside. And
Mm.
like for instance, I have like my goals of like it's this really cool idea that I would have a full-time income from social media and like, oh yeah, that's cool. Like I'm so close to doing that. Yada yada. But like I haven't scheduled, like, I haven't been good about scheduling it. So, like, if I was better about my system in that sense,
Hmm.
um, I would have like, okay, here's your days to post, here's your days to edit, here's your days to film, here's this measurable goal. You want this? How do you create this? Well, this is how you do it. But it's like I said, it's a goal without a plan at the
Hmm.
moment. So it's, you know, what is it? A fail to plan or plan to fail, whatever it is. I'm kind of like half-ass winning over here because like I have my brand deals and I get paid on views and whatnot. So it's like cool, like it works, but like it could be 10 times better, if I just would put my ass in gear. But again, I'm putting my ass in gear in the field,
Yeah.
which is a good thing. But I could also have two good things. But
Hmm.
I get
Yeah.
home and I'm like, hey, you want to just like fuck around on our phones?
Yeah, exactly. That's right there is why I felt like it was necessary for me to start, I don't even know if I want to call it journaling, but journaling just having that place to every day be doing that type of stuff.
Hmm.
Even if my goals for the day, I don't get them all done.
Yeah,
If I write them down, I get to most of them, or at least I'm reminded about it. So,
yeah.
like, for example, there's one thing I've actually been putting off. Rocky Mountain Power hasn't taken down my dang temporary meter, and I've written down to call them like 15 times, and I haven't done it yet. Mainly because I've reached out to them like 3 times already, and they haven't done it. They were supposed to take it down when they hooked up my permanent power, and they didn't.
Mm.
Anyways, like stuff like that. If I didn't think about it all the time, dude, it would literally never happen because it doesn't affect me in any way, really. I don't even think it has been increasing my energy bill either because, anyways, it's like it doesn't directly affect me. So my mind has a good way, an easy way, or an easy time, I guess, just ignoring it completely. And I'll be like, oh man, I need to do that. And then I don't
Yeah,
do it.
yeah. That's like my
Yep.
registration for my truck. I didn't do my registration for my truck until my friend Brigham pulled me over. And Brigham's like, "Hey, bud, you're about a month expired."
Well, it's hard when they switched to paperless for a while during COVID and then started doing paper again, and then a bunch of people like didn't receive their stuff at all. I know that happened to a bunch of people, and then if you're not like checking on it, how are you supposed to remember?
Yeah, yeah. It's
Well, yeah, I think to wrap this up, how do you manage life? You get a system
mm,
to keep track in any way you can, and I think it's important to see what other people do. So I think it's good we talked about this because, like, a lot of people's systems, we'll call them that I've seen, are like way too complicated for me.
mm,
I'm not really someone that wants to spend an hour every single day trying to do something like that. And I don't want to spend an hour every day journaling or reflecting. Having
you don't want
like,
to be like that guy, the big buff dude that everybody's making fun of right now.
yeah,
Have you seen his video? Yeah.
no, I don't. I want to be on top of my things and do kind of I could say a light reflection on things. Try to keep my mind on the wins that I've had and positives, and go that way. And maybe that way I can not be angsty and angry every day, I guess we'll say.
Hmm.
Concrete guys are pretty good about being angry, especially when, the concrete companies screw you over constantly. And
Hmm.
anyways, yeah, like get a system. You're going to be
Hmm.
much better for it. Even if you think you don't need it, most of the time you do. Anybody I talk to about their life, I can tell after even just a couple minutes how much in a disarray it is.
Hmm.
Everybody, like, we have a lot of things to do. Everybody does nowadays, and just without a way to keep organized and keep it together and keep things on your mind, like we said, things just fall through the cracks. So
Yeah, I think
everybody
that's
does
perfect.
it.
Yeah, I think that's yeah. Get a system, figure out how to be 1% better every day, and work through it that way. And then you have with your system, you have a measurable way to figure out if you are or aren't, or how to do it.
Yep. Yeah. It's awesome. It's good. All right, guys. I think that's it for this week. Next one's going to be a Q&A. We'll be better about sharing that's coming up so that
Yeah,
people
yeah.
know.
Maybe starting next week, or like give it a week, and then I'll put on my stories about like, hey,
Yeah.
Q
Yep.
and A here, or in the channel, or whatever it may be.
Yeah. if you're listening to this, do it in the channel. Or I guess you can send DMs. But it gets really easy to lose comments and DMs in the flood of them with random questions. If I see them, I usually try to make it a point to make a note of it, but put it in our stories or in the channel so that we can, so we can get to them. So awesome, Jesse. Appreciate it,
dude.
Appreciate it as always, and we will see you guys next week.
Sounds good. Take care.